Let's talk about the impacts of dyslexia on kids' emotional well being. Dyslexia is entirely an academic disorder. It impacts the ability for a kid to read, write, and spell well. However, academics are almost impossible to isolate from the rest of life, especially in childhood. So, by not being good at reading, writing, spelling, these kids can have a lot of secondary impacts related to their overall emotional well being. So, first, kids can be really frustrated. Think about it. If you had to go somewhere every single day and do something you were fundamentally not good at from 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., Monday through Friday, and you had absolutely zero choice about the matter, you would be pretty frustrated too. This high degree of frustration can lead to anxiety. A lot of times, these kids just have a short fuse. It's a lot like how we as adults, if we've had a stressful day at work and we come home and our spouse or our kid maybe makes a little comment that on a normal day we would just brush off. But because it's been a stressful day at work, we blow up at them. Our kids with dyslexia can have a short fuse in that way just because their frustration tolerance has been worn down by long days of struggling with reading, writing, spelling. Dyslexia affects their overall self esteem, especially if it hasn't been identified and kids don't know that the reason they're different is because of dyslexia. Um, this can lead to kids feeling like they're dumb, they're not as good as their classmates. It can also cause just an overall fear of embarrassment. Kids with dyslexia are constantly worried they're going to be called on next to read, or that their writing piece is going to be hung up on the bulletin board and everyone will be able to see how messy their handwriting is and how poor their spelling is. They live with this constant fear of embarrassment. This, of course, impacts their academics, but can also just lead them to be more fearful about other areas of life, of trying new things, new sports, new activities. It can just make them be kind of isolated. So, this brings me to the last thing I was going to mention, that dyslexia can impact social interactions. I said it's an entirely academic disability, but because of how it can make kids feel, stressed, frustrated, different, this can impact their social interactions. If you're really not feeling good about yourself, it's hard to be an attentive and present friend, family member, or neighbor. So that's how it impacts them socially. Long term, these issues with the kids' social and emotional well being and confidence, long term, this could lead to a more serious mental health issue. Kids with dyslexia are more at risk for dropping out of school. There are many people in our prison system who actually have dyslexia, a learning disability. So it can lead to some pretty scary outcomes for adults. However, there is so much that we can do to support these kids and make sure that they thrive. It is 100% possible for kids with dyslexia to be confident, self advocates who are role models for other students, those with and without learning disabilities. So, here are some ideas to help. First and foremost, we have to get these kids identified. We need to figure out why it is that they're struggling. And once we figure out that dyslexia is the underlying cause, we need to talk to the kids about it. They need to understand that they are very smart and they're very capable, but their brain processes language differently. It's a small thing, but it'll have a big impact on their schooling. But they need to know that they can do it and that as an adult, the special strengths and talents that they have as a dyslexic are going to help them so much to succeed in the workplace and just in their communities. So they really need to see the positive side of their diagnosis. Secondly, they need specialized help. They need dyslexia specific therapy so that they can learn to read, they can learn to write, and they can be successful academically. It will probably always be harder for them than other people, but they can do it. They need that dyslexia specific therapy so they can start feeling some success in school. They also really need a supportive environment. This means that as parents, you're supporting them, as teachers, their teachers are supporting them. This can look like having accommodations through something like an IEP or a 504 plan in school. or if they're in a private school or homeschooled, just that they are being given those chances to show what they know, and that they are being supported in the classroom. We also want to make sure we can identify their personal strengths. Every kid has something they are good at naturally, something that they are drawn to. Maybe it's dance, maybe it's fishing, maybe it is a sport, but help them find those areas where they are very strong and give them those opportunities to thrive in those areas. When a kid is struggling in school, it's very tempting to say, that's it. We're not going to do any activities or clubs. All we're going to do is flashcards and spelling homework. But that can really be counterproductive, because it can just decrease the child's confidence and motivation overall. They really need those areas where they are strong and where they can shine. And then lastly, of course, if your child is suffering from anxiety or depression, or you think they might be, I really encourage you to reach out to healthcare provider, to your child's guidance counselor. Professional help is sometimes needed to make sure that these kids are supported. Just like with any disability, it's rarely only one thing. Most of the time, kids have a cluster of things going on with them, and they need more than one thing, in terms of help and support in order to really be truly successful. At Read Write, our mission is to help students thrive. So we would love the opportunity to consult with you about your child and to provide that dyslexia specific therapy that can start building their confidence and boosting not only their academic outcomes, but their emotional well being as well.